Bitter criticism. I couldn't did it as sometimes I just press a button. I'm descending the bus and I just press the button by accident. And this time was not the exception. I just pressed the button and here we are, recovering the time. I mean, starting again, but I didn't read too much. It was just the headline. June 7, 2024. Home Russia and former Soviet Union. Russia's role in a multipolar world. Putin's address to Spief plenary session. Moscow is open to working with all interest parties as the global economy enters an era of drastic changes. The Russian president has said. Russian President Vladimir Putin speaks during a plenary session of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum in St. Petersburg, Russia. The Russian economy has demonstrated growth rates exceeding the world average and is actively adapting to a new emerging multipolar world built on a mutual respect. I hope so, but yeah. The question is, will the world trust Russian people? I guess I do. I'm gonna watch a Tarkovsky movie today. I guess I'm going to watch this movie, Tarkovsky, and just to know Russian a little better. But definitely, why not? People should know more about Russian people. Yeah, the rest of the world should know them better. The Russian economy has demonstrated growth rates exceeding the world average and is actively adapting to a new emerging multipolar world built on mutual respect. President Vladimir Putin has stated in his address to the plenary session of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Spief, on Friday. The Russian leader has joined on stage by Bolivian President Luis Arce and Zimbabwe's Emerson Mnangagwa, as well as moderator Sergei Karaganov, a political scientist and emeritus professor from the Higher School of Economics. He's a columnist here in Russia Today too. Not here, not in bitter criticism. Just here in this very article I'm reading. I'm reading Russia Today now. During his nearly 1 hour long prepared speech, Putin addressed a number of issues related to the global economy, as well as the country's achievements and goals for the near future, as it continues to establish ties with international players. Spief. Putin announced that this year's 27th annual Spief event was attended by more than 12,000 people from over 100 countries, including the shareholders and CEOs of leading companies, plus renowned experts, analysts, political, public and government figures. Vamos, venga, aquí arriba. Venga, Mursi. Mursi, venga, sube. Look, my Mursi, who is here? Can you see my Mursi here? Of course you do. Of course you are. Huh? Are you saying Mursi? Of course you are. Are you blind? You are not blind. What a beautiful dog. We are going walking to Brazil. What about that? But I will have a charrette for Mursi because she's woman. Because I was walking a dog this last week, this week, 2 days ago. Oh, they are killing each other. Look, Mursi got nervous. It's far away. It's far away. It's far away, Mursi. Relax. Tommy is here. Tommy is afraid too. Putin has announced that. Are you listening? That shots, that guns shots. You know, there's a slum over there, but it's far away. Putin announced that this year's 27th annual Spief event was attended by more than 12,000 people from over 100 countries, including the shareholders and CEOs of leading companies, plus renowned experts, analysts, political, public, and government figures. He emphasized that the forum provides a unique opportunity to establish business contacts, launch joint projects, and engage in discussions on current trends in global and regional markets and the latest developments in the modern world. New world. New world. Countries across the world have entered a race to strengthen their sovereignty on the basis of three key areas: state, culture, and economy. Putin observed, noting that nations who were previously seen as the leaders in global development are struggling to maintain their elusive role as hegemons. Putin stated that the world is experiencing explosive technological growth in almost all areas of life, and that China and India have already become leading world economies, while other South Asian and African nations are on their way to becoming key global economic players by the middle of the century. Russia. This is a subtitle. Russia has also demonstrated a high level of readiness. What the hell? Of readiness and adaptability to technological developments. Putin said, mentioning that the country's financial sector, e-commerce, transport services, and the military have already undergone drastic changes to keep up with the times. Foreign economic relations. It's funny because, look, right now is not so bright, but if you put this Samsung screen on the light of a Huawei, it got even brighter. You know, the brighter. This cell phone here, it has some technology. Foreign economic relations. Russia is striving to maintain its position as one of the key participants in global trade. Putin said, noting that despite all the obstacles and illegitimate sanctions, the country continues to actively develop logistics and expand the number of nations and regions it cooperates with. He reported that Russia trade with Asian countries had grown by 60% from 2020 to 2023. There's a lot, 60%. Doubled with the Middle East, grown by 69%, with Africa, and by 42% with Latin America. Bolivia, especially Bolivia. Equal partnership. Putin stressed that Russia aims to build economic relations with other countries based on full-scale technological and industrial partnerships, providing a full life cycle of goods and services, with training of national personnel and localized production. Such an approach, based on equal terms and the transfer of technologies instead of their monopolization, will establish strong and resilient ties between nations, allowing companies to play the long game, the president said. Long trust in Western financial system. I don't get this, because loss of trust. Yeah, definitely loss of trust in Western financial system. There's no more trust. Well, United Kingdom, they are stealing money, stealing reserves, stealing assets from Russia, as I was reading from Russia Today. Putin highlighted that global trust in the reliability of Western payment system has been fundamentally undermined, claiming that this was done by Western countries themselves. He said that the share of payments for Russian exports in toxic currencies of unfriendly states had halved, while ruble payments almost tripled between 2021 and 2023, approaching 40%. The BRICS payment system is very well written. This article is very well written because it's logic, is progressive. It goes progressively. Look, new BRICS payment system. Putin stated that Russia is already increasing the use of national currencies in foreign trade, while the BRICS group of nations, which continues to accept new members from across the world, is working on develop its own independent payment system that will not be subject to political pressure, abuse, or external sanctions interference. Russian economy. So things are really happening right now. Russian economy. Putin reported that Russia's GDP growth reached 5.4% in the first quarter of this year, after recording a 3.6% growth rate in 2023. The president stated that the country has long striven to become one of the largest economies in the world, and announced that according to the latest World Bank estimates, it is now in fourth place in terms of purchasing power parity, PPP, overtaking Japan. Such a great news. I want to live in Russia, in interior of Russia, in some poor parts, some easy part with the bears, with Tommy and the bears. Tommy, do you know a bear? You better don't. Future of Russia. In the countryside, the Russian leader outlined a number of steps the country should take to maintain its growth and remain a key player on the global stage. These steps include strengthening financial, technological, and personnel sovereignty, increasing production capacity, and boosting the competitiveness of Russian products in both foreign and domestic markets. To achieve this, Putin proposed 10 structural changes to the Russian economy, such as increasing investments in new projects across the country and strengthening the role of small and medium-sized businesses in economic development, creating new financial tools to incentivize businesses, improving the professional education system, boosting labor productivity through automation and the use of AI. Technologies, reducing poverty and improving the quality of life for Russian families. Definitely, yeah, sounds great. When we are going, Mursi, we are going to Russia, baby. June 7, 2024, Home World News. US tests nuclear missiles. 2 Minuteman III ICBMs were launched as part of a routine exercise. A test launch of Minuteman 3 ICBM from Vandenberg Space Force Base, California. The American military has announced that it carried out 2 tests of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ballistic missiles, ICBMs, over the past 3 days, describing the launches as routine and unrelated to world events. 2 Minuteman 3 missiles were launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on Tuesday and Thursday. The Pentagon said they were armed with dummy re-entry vehicles instead of the nuclear warheads they would normally carry. Re-entry vehicles instead. Dummy re-entry vehicles. I don't know what the hell is that. I'm sorry. This test launch is part of a routine periodic activities intended to demonstrate that the US nuclear deterrent is safe, secure, reliable, and effective to deter 21st century threats and reassure our allies. The Air Force Global Strike Command said about Tuesday's launch. There have been over 300 tests of this kind so far, the Pentagon noted. It said that this week's launches were not the result of current world events. Russia began a series of tactical nuclear exercises in one of its military districts last month, in what the Kremlin called a response to unprecedented Western escalation of the Ukraine conflict. Since then, Ukraine has allegedly targeted 2 Russia's early warning radars, raising the possibility of a nuclear exchange. The US Air Force and Space Force worked together on the Vandenberg test, which saw the dummy warheads fly approximately 4,200 miles over 6,700 kilometers before splashing down at the site on Kwajalein Atoll in the Marshall Islands. I guess that's in the Caribbean islands. There was no official statement on whether the tests were successful. While the US military was insisted that its atomic deterrent is safe, secure, reliable, and effective, there have been growing concerns in Washington about the ground-based leg of the nuclear triad. A November 2023 test failed because the missile had developed an anomaly and had to be destroyed after launch. Minuteman 3 missiles first became operational in the 1970s. There are still around 400 of them in silos across 5 US states 50 years later, because Washington has yet to replace them. The Sentinel program is behind schedule and over budget, with the first test flight not expected until February 2026, according to the Air Force. In 2021, the head of the U.S. Strategic Command lamented the service life of the Minuteman 3 cannot be extended for much longer. So yeah, there should be a war against UFOs, you know, against aliens, because all this lost material is so sad. That thing is so old that in some cases the drawings don't exist anymore, Admiral Charles Richard said at the time. The drawings that do exist are like 6 generations behind the industry standard, while the technicians who can fully understand them are not alive anymore. Earlier this year, the Pentagon awarded a $405 million contract for the maintenance and service of Minuteman III missiles to Boeing. Well, so the United States should have a war to use all that weaponry. What about that? Home Russia and former Soviet Union. June 7. Has the West successfully demonized Russia? Russia Today panel. Key takeaways. Western media and officials are engaged in a battle of perception versus reality to portray what Moscow in a negative light. Experts say. And here we have a panel with Scott Ritter from the United States. Scott Ritter doesn't have the right to fly to take flights anymore because I don't know, because it's war, you know. Minuteman missiles, 400 is well, they should use them. Who knows? Spief 2024, the Empire of Evil. Has the West successfully demonized Russia? Prominent political pundits have offered their views on the long-standing Western campaign to promote the image of Russia as a hostile country as part of a panel discussion titled The Empire of Evil. Has the West successfully demonized Russia? The hour-long event hosted by Russia Today took place on the sidelines of St. Petersburg 2024 International Economic Forum on Friday. It featured speakers such as a former UN Special Commission Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter and Tara Reid, a former aide to Joe Biden. Others include former Austrian Foreign Minister Karin Kneißl, the great-nephew of German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, Alexander von Bismarck, and American political commentator Jackson Hinckley. The event was moderated by Russia Today host and correspondent Oksana Boyko. Here are some key takeaways from the discussion. Perception versus reality. Western countries and media are shaping an image of Russia as the enemy and use this to justify the allocation of resources to deter it. Scott Ritter said, calling this effort a battle of perception versus reality. He argued that the West tries to make Russia look like it is worthy of confrontation to justify the efforts while trying to suppress the true image of Russia. Quote, anybody who has the audacity to correct the record, to reach into Russia, to capture the Russian experience, and try to expose it to the Western audience is deemed an enemy of the state, he said, adding that the fact that he was prevented by the US authorities from going to Russia only proves his point. Ignorance regarding Russia. Ritter noted that during the Cold War, US policymakers encouraged a better understanding of Russia, including its language, culture, and history. But now, all of this expertise has been squandered and neglected. He added that the US diplomatic corps and the military are now staffed by people trained not to learn about your enemy but the spies and hate them. Yeah, you know, millennials. This is the wokeist generation. I guess it's absolutely right. These people, the millennial generation and the Z generation, they are they are weak, you know. Their minds are super weak. They have no idea about culture. They have no culture. They just have hate. That's true, you know. They have all this Western tradition of Western narrative of being of paying a lot of attention to reputation, this platonistic sense of identity related to reputation, essence. They think, they think a lot about their style, their fashion, anything, their clothes. Well, in my opinion, is a lost generation, definitely. But anyway, that was me opinating. He added that the US diplomatic corps and the military are now staffed by people trained not to learn about your enemy but despise and hate them. The only real solution for Washington is to start taking knowledge of Russia seriously again, Ritter argued. Animosity towards Russia as an artificial construct. The anti-Russia sentiment in the US is completely manufactured by political elites, Tara Reid said, claiming that this animosity largely stems for financial incentives. She explained that some former US officials who now work for defense corporations are beneficiaries of weapons deliveries to Ukraine. American journalist Jackson Hinckley concurred, describing the US-Russia standoff as artificial, as the US has had no history of beef with Russia, with Moscow supporting Washington on numerous occasions in the past. A notable example was World War II, when the Soviet Union and the United States fought against Nazi Germany, Hinckley said. Ultimately, we don't have any reason to hate Russia or Russians, especially today, with a younger generation of increasingly traditional and conservative young men rising up in America. Deep-rooted East-West antagonism. Western countries traditionally see Russia as part of a collective East. Former Austrian Foreign Minister Karin Kneisel said, arguing that this mindset has become fertile ground for cultivating a negative view of the country. Europe lost its soul. Europe lost its soul. The version of the EU that once embraced freedom of speech and the rule of law is now a distant memory, as these values have been shattered in recent years, Kneisel believes. While the bloc may eventually manage to deal with economic and political problems, Europe has lost its soul. Its soul, she argued. Hope for youth. While Alexander von Bismarck agreed that Europe has lost its soul, he argued that this is not true when it comes to young people, as they rely heavily on social media to access views and don't portray a one-sided version of events, and use this tool to fruitful debate. Von Bismarck claimed that 80% of Germans don't believe in what their government says or does, despite the mainstream media's attempt to impose their own version of reality on them. And that was all from Russia Today. I guess I do have more fresh news from Pepe Escobar Telegram. Mursi is afraid of the shots. And Pepe Escobar Telegram. I'm not sure. So Pepe Escobar is in St. Petersburg. such a nice guy. Putin's Spief speech showcases stamina and strategy, say Western analysts. Sputnik has asked three Western wise men who watched Vladimir Putin's speech at the plenary session of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on Friday what they have to say about the style and substance of the Russian president's remarks. Avoid the substance of what he said. Let's focus on the subliminal message. Number one, Putin was able to speak for over 3 hours. Former CIA analyst turned independent political and security affairs observer Larry Johnson said. Compare and contrast what with Joe Biden. Biden's lucky if he can speak 10 minutes without running out of breath and falling asleep. Number one, or nodding off, or asking somebody for ice cream. And this is Scott Bennett, the second one. Putin have an excellent summary of Russia's victory in Ukraine. That is inevitable. The development of Russia's lands and economy, and the attraction of skilled workers, and the ultimate defeat of the West, which I think can be best characterized as that classic scene from Ben-Hur when Charlton Heston is racing in a chariot against his Roman competitor, and the Roman competitor's chariot falls apart and crumbled as he gets trampled under the horse hooves, said Scott Bennett, an ex-U.S. State Department counterterrorism analyst turned independent political commentator. And the ending was fantastic. The ending was Russia is going to be the capital of the multipolar harmonic world, said Pepe Escobar, roving correspondent, geopolitical analyst, and Sputnik contributor. He introduced a very Chinese concept of harmony in the whole thing, which is totally anti-warmongering and anti-what the collective West has been doing. And considering that the collective West threw everything that they had against Russia, and Russia now is the fourth largest economy in the world by purchasing power parity, proves that he's on to something, Pepe Escobar suggested. Yeah, Pepe Escobar Telegram. Yeah. More. Russia will be the heart of multipolar harmonic world. Now that's how you end a plenary session. We have more quotes from Putin. Russia will only consider the use of nuclear weapons in exceptional cases which have not yet occurred, Putin clarified. Earlier in the Telegram in the channel, Putin announced the formation of an independent payment system within the BRICS, not subject to external pressure. BRICS itself will be significantly expanded by admitting new members. And then we have Italian news, but we have another one here. Look. Vladimir Putin made statements from the Spief plenary session. Russia remains a key player in global trade despite all obstacles and illegitimate sanctions. States friendly to Russia account for 3/4 of its trade turnover. 3/4. That's a lot. States friendly to Russia account for 3/4 of its trade turnover. There has been a real race between countries in the world who to strengthen their sovereignty. Countries that were leaders are trying to contain leadership by hook or by crook, or by hook or by crook. Uh, Northern Sea Route infrastructure will be developed further. Last year, 36 million tons of cargo passed through the Northern Sea Route, and in the future, cargo turnover could exceed 150 million tons. Russian economic growth rates exceed the world average. Russia is already in the fourth place in terms of GDP at purchasing power parity. Western countries themselves undermined trust in their own payment infrastructure. The share of settlements for Russian exports is toxic currencies has halved, and the ruble's share in transactions is growing, approaching 40%. BRICS countries are working on their own payment infrastructure, independent on the West. The grouping has great potential for new members to join. The share of imports in Russia's economy should fall to 17 by 2030 to the development of its own industries. Yeah, I definitely will try to go back to Brazil, you know. Earlier in Telegram, Pepe Escobar Telegram, extremely detailed 1-hour speech on Russian economy. Short headline: West launched a total economic war on Russia. Russia becomes world's fourth largest economy, still with potential to launch 7 sweeping structural changes. The rest, Western attack dogs, and all is irrelevant. The rest, Western attack dogs, and all is irrelevant. So we have more photographs from Pepe. I'm gonna shut down the lights just to appreciate better. Yeah, Pepe is in St. Petersburg having a good one. The 3 wild and crazy guys added a beautiful woman to the Brat Pack, about to be arrested at 4 different Western airports. And now we are four wild and crazy guys about to be arrested at 4 different Western airports. They're talking about Scott Ritter, of course. Poor Scott Ritter. I'm gonna read it all, Sputnik, because I'm going to do a 47. I'm going to do like this because I'm worried about safety concerns here. I guess Mursi's heard something. Iranians are very pragmatic partners and see direct benefits in cooperation with the EAU. Speaking to Sputnik on the sidelines of the Spief, Dmitry Volvak, Deputy Minister of Economic Development of the Russian Federation, commented on Iran's application for observer status in the Eurasian Economic Union. EAU. Oh, is a very nice name, that Eurasian Economic Union. Nice. I knew, but I forgot. Our Iranian colleagues understand that there is indeed a great primarily economic potential in this cooperation. Volvak noted I emphasize that they are very pragmatic partners, which means that they see direct benefits. Yeah. So it's better to be pragmatic in that way, you know, because in global south like Brazil and Chile, people are pragmatic and they vote neoliberal because they want to keep being exploited because they know that exploitation. That's the sad truth about Chile and Brazil. The temporary agreement with Iran has allowed us to double our mutual trade, This is also a way out for us, and a good way out with good conditions, with comfortable tariffs to new markets. This is also obvious and that is why all countries have supported the conclusion of such agreements with the free trade zone, he added. Let's see what will be the results of the consultations of Iran's accession to the EAU as an observer. I hope that everyone will express their support, Volvach said. The perimeter of our Eurasian Economic Union will soon become a very serious economic and strategic partner. And not only in terms of trade in goods, but also in terms of logistics. I think this is quite logical. Just reading English, that's it. Dilma Rousseff, Russia's President Vladimir Putin met with Dilma Rousseff, President of the BRICS and New Development Bank. Vladimir Putin, last year we met on the sidelines of the Russia-Africa Summit. I am glad to have a chance to continue our dialogue. And they are happy, look. I must note that over this year the bank has managed to do a lot under our leadership. It has shown a significant net profit for the first time. In fact, it is becoming sustainable and operating more smoothly and successfully. I hope today we will have a chance to talk about the bank's further development and our cooperation with the bank, as well as discuss what can be done together, including on such large platforms as the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Moreover, the topic is very acute, developing multipolarity and strengthening its economic base. Of course, your opinion as the bank's chair and as a former president of Brazil, political figure, and head of a big financial institution will be very important in all the discussions held on the side of the International Economic Forum. Please give my best regards to the current president of Brazil, Mr. Lula da Silva. We agreed to have a telephone conversation in a few days to discuss bilateral ties. We also look forward to seeing him at the BRICS Summit in Kazan this autumn. Well, so the world is not that bad, you know. The world in Russia, in St. Petersburg is not that bad. St. Petersburg, 3 wild and crazy guys soon to be arrested at 3 different airports. It's a funny story because things are not so great. And well, Pepe Escobar is posting about his beloved Russian blonde. Maria Zakharova couldn't hold back her feelings speaking about Gaza's victims during an exclusive interview with Sputnik. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman discussed the topic at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Spief. That's it, I guess. And what we have here. At the immensely enriching Greater Russian Partnership session, what a threat! The Taliban discussing the reinsertion in Eurasia with Glaziev, Russian ministers, and Karin Kneisel, who once again stole the show. The Taliban, look. So very nice, because the Taliban they are governing Afghanistan. So what's the surprise about that? At the exhaustively debated session on the Northern Sea route. Look, this is a route in the Arctic, and that's why there will be no the de-escalation on the global warming because of oil and I don't know. So that's it. I've wrote a lot of I've been reading a lot of Telegram. I don't have more news than those from the beginning. And here are my I'm back for Tommy. Tommy is my guarantor. Tommy, don't kill any croc. We want them alive. And well, what can I say? I want to go to Russia too. I want to live in Russia. I will see a Russian movie today. I guess I have right here too. Look, I'm gonna show you. It's a Tarkovsky movie. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it in 40 minutes, in 40 seconds. But definitely watching movies is important too. I guess this is it, look. Yeah, Tarkovsky, can you see? Look, they have this movie, I'm gonna watch it. Says Stalker, full movie directed by Andrei Tarkovsky. I'm gonna make a try to understand more the Russians.